All right, so introduction. This is my media criticism project, video presentation for my radio, television, and film 80, section 80 class at San Jose State University, created by me, Joseph Gray. All right, five-step critical process. Number one, describe. Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall is about the musician's perception of formal schooling. The music narrates the story of a student who suffers multiple traumatic experiences and becomes reclusive and paranoid, detaching himself from the people with an imaginary wall. For example, the music demonstrates the protagonist's experience in the local school as a teacher abuses and scolds him for composing a creative poem. The teacher shouts at the protagonist, snatches his book from the desk, and sarcastically reads the poem to the other students. The teacher slams the book on the protagonist's desk and shouts that the poem is rubbish, humiliating the boy as the students laugh. The music displays students' lack of independence and a poor school structure involving a dictatorial role. According to Jackson Barrett, Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall exposes a flawed education system and demonstrates the teacher's autocratic role. However, the teacher seems to receive his retribution at home through an abusive partner. Multiple sounds, metaphors, and imagery support the musician's perception that education is worthless. For example, the music video shows the students marching on a conveyor belt before falling into a hole in the ending scene. The camera switches to a meat grinder, which secretes out a substance, demonstrating the product of education as trash instead of competitive graduates. Moving on to analyze. Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall demonstrates multiple themes, including alienation, despair, and childhood trauma. According to the music title, the protagonist's alienation has a form, and the injustices, abuse, and tragedy create additional bricks in an already existing wall. The protagonist's negative experiences act as a protection against a combative reality. The protagonist records his life events and personifies the experiences as bricks in a figurative wall at various points. The protagonist becomes detached from reality with every new abuse and negative experience. The initial brick in the protagonist's life comes from his father's death. The implication is that the protagonist's mental deterioration started when his father died as an infant. The initial brick sets the stage for the next block from the school when the protagonist deals with an abusive teacher. As the music video approaches the final scene, the protagonist seems to bid farewell to the audience with an elaborate stage demonstration. The music's sudden end comes with a final lock in the wall, as the producer separates the characters from the audience. All right, interpret. The music's final scene represents the protagonist's attempt to flee from the wall he constructed himself as he puts the deteriorating mind on trial. However, the brick segments that create a wall between the protagonist and society create a connection with the audience. For instance, although the audience may wonder if they are viewing music that denies the significance of the music, Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall music is a critique of an academic system that suffocates a student's creativity and development, instead of coaching them to discover their capabilities. Even though education should assist in expanding the student's mind, Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall music implies that teachers are the learner blockers in the walls. The teachers cannot let students explore and be themselves, but exert authority and control. Another brick in the wall emerged when several learners questioned the value of education. The students protested the inequality in school for the different races and intimidation by teachers, although Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall challenges the school's authority. All right, evaluate. I would place Another Brick in the Wall in the middle between low and high culture on my skyscraper model. I don't believe that it is as influential as the ballet or the New York Times, but I think that it contributes more to society than American Idol. Even though schools may not be similar to those in the 1980s, and now the government has banned corporal punishment, several aspects may still be identical. Teachers may expect students to be perfect and score high grades. Teachers might also ignore students who cannot perform well, just as the teacher humiliates the protagonist in Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall for composing a poem. Even though students may spend most of their time in schools during childhood education, they may be scared to ask counselors for assistance, talk to tutors, or speak out in the classroom. The implication is that U.S. schools may have become intimidating rather than inviting to students. Schools may be isolating and unfriendly for students as they create psychological walls to preserve themselves. The unnecessary rules teachers impose to intimidate students may reinforce Pink Floyd's ideology that teachers should leave the learners alone. All right, moving on to engage. The most salient aspect of the music video's disjointed episodes is Pink Floyd's daring sequences. The surreal and satirical images display the traumatic experiences in the protagonist's life, such as his abuse by the teacher. The producer seems to adopt a sledgehammer to present the sequences with an authenticity that harms the symbolism. The audience does not have to see the violence at the end of the song as the students set the school on fire. Even though Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall raises significant issues in the education system, the producer suggests that violence may solve the challenges. The musician should have incorporated humor to bolster his assertion. People may remember Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall as a violence against the conventional education system, due to the artful and compelling opening music scenes. Even though the composer raises significant issues in the education sector, his music cannot present sustainable solutions to address the challenges. The producer should introduce another solution that may address the issues in the education system, such as engagement between teachers, students, and others. Presenting violence in popular music may encourage students to use aggression and destroy school property when they perceive that the teachers have violated their educational rights. So, conclusion. That is my project on Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall for my media criticism project for Radio Television Film 80 at San Jose State University. Thank you for listening.